Everyone has a good story to tell, and you know it is a good story when the person leans in and says, "See, what had happened was," and then tells the story.
This podcast provides those opportunities to tell those types of stories in education. The stories will be from the good, the bad, and everything in between. We wanted to do this podcast to showcase stories in education and to give flowers to educators who deserve recognition for their excellence.
Our guests will feature parents, students, teachers, administrators, and just about anyone who is involved in education. These stories will inspire you, challenge you, and help you to reflect on your practice of education, whether it be from the inside of the classroom or outside.
If you have a good story to tell, we'd love to hear it. Email us at contact@andredowdy.org. We'd love to have you or your story on a future episode. See What Had Happened starts now. Welcome to another episode of See What Had Happened, where we hear the stories of education from the good, the bad, and everything in between. We're your co-hosts, Andre and Danielle Daughty. If this is your first time joining the podcast, welcome. If you've been to another podcast, welcome back. Today we have a special guest joining us, Mrs. Melody McAllister.
And we know who Melody is, but perhaps our listeners don't. So Melody, start us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Melody McAllister. I grew up in Missouri. I moved to Texas right after I turned 20. I met my husband and we raised a family in the Garland, Texas area, the DFW area. And I was just telling both of you, we went through some health issues, completely changed the trajectory of our lives. I am an educator. I am an author. I work with EduMatch Publishing as the logistics manager. I do a lot of community building online. And so I'm not in the public school system right now. I am teaching my own children since COVID happened. So we're doing homeschool. I teach kindergarten, second grade, fourth grade, and sixth grade at home with my kids. And I do all the other like social media and writing. I blog. So I'm still really entrenched in the education world and I work with educators. But yeah, my life looks completely different than it did just 2 years ago. And I'm super excited about it.
And for those who may not know, she's in Alaska versus Texas. So tell us about a little bit about the weather.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, I am in Alaska. We moved in March of 2019 and it is 12 degrees currently right now. I'm in my basement. My feet are cold and it is always covered in snow and ice. It is beautiful here. I do complain a lot about just being cold all the time. I feel like, we were, living in Texas for so many years. We got used to just being summer like 6 months of the year. And we miss that for sure.
Sure.
My kids still love the snow. We need to get into the life here. The scenery is phenomenal though. The animals and the wildlife. I saw a grizzly last spring, I think it was. It just came right up on the road. And it's just not something that I ever thought that I would see with my own two eyes outside of a zoo. Last Sunday, I saw the Aurora Borealis for the first time from my front porch. I mean, it's cold, but it's gorgeous and wonderful. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you're definitely not getting any of that in Texas whatsoever. That is not happening in the DFW area, not at all. But I can also see how much you could appreciate more in Alaska, like to see an eagle, a real eagle. That is dope. Every good story always starts with that setup. So set it up for us. What year were you teaching, or is it an educational story? Like, we'll just let you go ahead and set it up for us.
Yeah. Well, the coolest thing I feel about my life and the most grateful thing that I was telling you before we started recording, what happened was my husband had this series of health problems that ended up, he had to have a quadruple bypass. And this was just a little over 2 years ago. And so that's exactly why we moved to we moved to Alaska to get out of the rat race, to slow down and experience life differently. It also became an opportunity for our kids to experience life somewhere we never thought that they'd ever see. I feel like from the moment that I left home in St. Joseph, Missouri, from the time I arrived in Texas, and I went to school in Oklahoma, I lived right on the border. I just feel like every opportunity has always been just like, are you going to take it, Melody, or are you going to leave it? And I feel like I've grabbed so many opportunities. Like some women are my friends that they say that they dreamed of getting married and like they envisioned their wonderful wedding and having all these kids. I had no idea about any of that. I never dreamed like that. That was just not something that I ever thought about. I did think about becoming a teacher. I did everything I could for that path to be realistic. And I also knew that I wanted to write, and writing was always something I've been very passionate about. We were talking just before we went live about how adversity can also become an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, in 2017, I had a miscarriage. My husband had been laid off like twice because he's in the telecom business and that's what they do. We had avoided layoff for years. So it was his turn. It was what it was. We had gone through some really crazy times. We found our way through all of that mess. And then Mandy Freilich comes along. She's on Twitter, and I'm really into social media. She's like, hey, do you have a story where you climbed through adversity and now you're a better educator for it? And I'm like, well, sure, I do. Really, I do. So I submitted my story to her. And is it okay if I show her book?
Yes.
So anyway, The Fire Within. So this is Mandy Freilich, and I work with her for EduMatch, and I submitted my story. And then in that process, I learned how to really write and get feedback. And it's a great book. When we were moving to Alaska, she said, hey, we need a logistics manager. And so Dr. Sarah Thomas, who founded and owns EduMatch, they offered me the logistics manager position because I had quit my teaching job to move to Alaska. And so it all just worked out. And also in the meantime, you know, I'm writing a story. I had submitted it, my own children's story, the I'm Sorry story. So it all worked out. I can tell you, when you are facing adversity, it's like you have two options, like just to keep going and just keep leaning into it and, you know, using it for the opportunity that it could create to connect you with others, or just, you know, fall over and die.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose the better course.
Put your book back up.
Yes, yes. Okay, this is the I'm Sorry story, and my co-teacher, or one of my teammates, she illustrated it. It just was, it's now in Spanish also. Nicole Biscotti translated it into Spanish, and it's in a funky font, because that's the dyslexia font, which is better for children or readers who have dyslexia. So this is like a dream come true for me. I wrote this when I was teaching 5th grade, like 10 years ago. And of course I've revised it over and over and over to make it more relevant for everybody. I love it. It's everything that embodies me as an educator. Like, we made sure to illustrate like the kids that we saw, you know, in front of us. I really wanted to make this as inclusive as possible. So it's just such a dream come true. And then for Nicole to say, hey, what about translating it? And I'm like, yeah, like this just, it's incredible. I know that was a lot of run on, but I get really excited when I think about all the opportunities that have come along, and then I get to meet people like you, like just amazing people. I cannot tell you how many wonderful people have just become friends and acquaintances and people I learned from. So it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah. And I love the part where you talked about, you know, when you face that adversity, fight or flight, pretty much. Like, what are you going to do when you are in those moments of adversity? Do you embrace it, take it by the hand, and then run with it? Do you run? Are you scared? So I love how you've embraced it. That is phenomenal. So what are some of the things that you do now with EduMatch to help teachers?
Yeah, so when I came on board over a year ago, I helped start a community on Facebook, and I just thought that was I think that was my idea, just to start this community, and I love it. It's just a place where people share, and we share our books, but of course other people share resources that they're writing. And I feel like it has allowed people to see that you can actually publish a story. Like, it's not just for other people. Like you know, people that have published, you become friends, and it's not a pie in the sky dream that just a few people do. It is for everybody. And I love working for EduMatch because it literally is for everybody. Dr. Sarah has made it this, she, especially for people who have felt marginalized, she's going to amplify their voices. I mean, like, she was doing that before it was cool. Yeah. Because that is who she is, you know, that's EduMatch. And that's why I wanted to publish with them and working with them, and Mandy Freilich too, and the other people on the team. It's just, I don't know, it's not something that I ever thought I would do. I thought I would just teach, and that's fine. Like, teaching is wonderful, and I miss it, actually. I miss being in the classroom. But like, it has changed the trajectory. I love that word, but I cannot say it. Trajectory.
That is Tumblr. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
But it changed,
even like, with the changing of the trajectory, like, your focus and the vision of what your purpose is still there. Like, I think that is really dope.
Yes. And and I do a lot of lives now. So it's just, meeting people is, for me, like, it's a natural high. Like right now, I'm so excited. When we are finished, I'm going to go tell my husband all about how wonderful this was. And, meeting you guys face to face is just, it's phenomenal for me. And, when the pandemic started, I was so lonely here in Alaska. I don't have as many friends because I haven't, gone back to work in the, like the setting where you will meet coworkers and become friends like that. So I don't have quite as many friends as I normally have. And, so going live and talking about people's books is something that I do on a regular basis. I host this book chat, but it's kept me like busy and connecting, and it's been a joy. And again, like it all is together. It's part of what I do with EduMatch. It's part of just who I am as a person. And it's just leaning into all these weird changes that were being thrown at us. What are you going to do? And if it weren't for being able to talk like this with others, I think that I probably would have had like a deep crisis of depression because I need people.
Yeah. And so it appears as if like you are more of an extrovert.
It's true.
Okay. So then that means that brings you joy creating a community where other teachers and other educators can come and learn from each other. That brings you joy when you work with Dr. Sarah and others, and like, I can see that. Yeah.
Being able to amplify others is definitely part of who I always want to be. It's just, pulling up other people when I have received opportunities to make sure that the people in my life, I pass on opportunities as much as possible. So that's really important for me. Yeah.
So along those lines, how do you help other teachers win when they're writing their books? How do you help them out?
Well, so I actually have branched out. I'm starting to work for like Alice Keeler and a couple of other educators. And so one of the things that I've been doing a lot lately is collecting blogs. And so the Alice Keeler has a phenomenal, she has a phenomenal base. And so when someone blogs for her, thousands of people are going to see it immediately. And so I do work for her on a regular basis. And so like one of my responsibilities is collecting blogs, and I absolutely love just putting the opportunity out there and saying, hey, like we have a Facebook community that I also helped her start. And when I see people educators posting things that they're doing, I'm like, this sounds like a really good idea. Would you like to blog about it? And can we use it in the Alice Keeler blog? And something that they're not necessarily used to is writing. Of course, we teach kids how to write, but writing for a blog is different, and it's kind of outside of the rules that we normally teach our kids because it doesn't have to fit all into those limitations. And so something that I'm doing a lot more of lately is helping educators write out their ideas, get their ideas out there to share and connect more on social media. And I do a lot of her social media too. So like when I see people like you that I like, I make sure I follow and amplify those from social media platforms as well. Like I love all of this.
So I love that where you're helping others win. So you're like, maybe Alice Keeler and some of her readers may not know who this second grade teacher is over here, or this fourth grade teacher. And so like you're building that bridge so other communities can, I love that. I love that you are a bridge helping others win, because that fits right in with your extrovertedness. So now that we've heard your story and know your story, I think this next part, Sprout Outs, is just going to fit right into who you are and your purpose.
Some of the best educators in the world are people you've never heard of. They may not be on TV or get the National Teacher of the Year awards, but we want to give those teachers their flowers today. We know the sacrifice and the heavy lifting these educators go through daily. With that said, we present Sprout Outs. Sprout Outs is sponsored by Pinky and Paws Petals. Owner and founder Jamaica Lewis has always loved flowers as a kid, and after her mom passed, she wanted to design the same flower arrangements she saw at her mom's funeral. She went to design school and learned how to craft and design floral arrangements. From there, the design started at home, and after great feedback, her business has flourished worldwide. Weddings, funerals, special occasions, and more. Pinky and Paws Petals ships artificial designs and delivers local ones in the Denver, Colorado area for now until after COVID. Now it's time for Sprout Out.
Melody, who's someone that you like to sprout out?
I have to say, I have to give so much love right now to Dr. Sarah Thomas. She just, I can never say enough good things about her, but I did get to meet her in person at ISTE 2019 in Philadelphia. And you know, you can know people before you meet them in real life, and it doesn't feel like, that's not who they, you know, that's not always how, you know, your first impressions might not always be wonderful. Of course, we had set up time so we could work together because I was already working for EduMatch. We just hadn't met, you know, personal face-to-face yet. And meeting her face-to-face really blew me out of the water because she was exactly who she was. She was not changed in any way. And I'm not just talking about physical appearance. I'm just like the person that she is. The depth of character that she has was completely like all wrapped up in that first experience. And when I went to ISTE, I didn't have that experience a lot. I can say not, I as normally I am very extroverted. I did feel kind of within myself. I don't even think that I could say that I was true to who I normally am. But she was, and it was just a great experience. And so we have actually become very good friends. And I thank her all the time for just, you know, giving me a chance. She and Mandy and I, we work really closely together. I have to give a shout out to Mandy too, because she pulled me in, and without her, I wouldn't know Sarah, and Mandy has become a close friend too. So those two educators, Mandy Freilich and Dr. Sarah Thomas, are people that have become family to me. And I want to give them, kudos and shout outs. They're amazing people doing things for others that I really respect.
And with that said, we believe when one wins, we all win. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to create this podcast, because we wanted to also, like you, Melody, help others win. So we already saw that you have a book. What other things can you plug so other people can get your materials, your resources, and help you win?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I love that you both are doing this. This is so cool. I would love, actually, my book came out almost exactly a year ago, and the pandemic really like shortened its momentum in a lot of ways. But yeah, if you can find this at bit.ly/I'm sorry story. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. I love this book. If you want me to do an author read aloud, I absolutely love doing virtual author read alouds. I am so easy to find. mjmccallie@gmail.com. And MJ McAllie is kind of like become it was my district, you know, my district email, MJ McAllie, but now it's like become who I am. MJ McAllie Writes on Twitter. MJ McAllie Writes on Instagram. That's my updated website, mjmccalliewrites.com. And so, yeah, I love partnering with educators. And this last year, I have got to meet with students across the United States and Canada and even Uganda and Germany. And so it's actually become a global thing. So I might not have sold, 10 million copies of this book, but I can tell you that I feel like empowered with the words that I've written to reach kids across the world and to have discussions with them about what it means to be sincere, how it feels for others when you're not sincere, and how, it is our responsibility to take ownership for when we do hurt people's feelings. Like it's been such a blessing to work with educators who reach out to me, and, I'm home. Like I'm going to be, if you need me to wake up at midnight so that I can talk with your kids across the globe, I'm going to do it. I have done it. I'll do it again, and I'll enjoy it. So, yeah.
Hey, and you haven't sold 10,000 copies yet. It's coming.
Yet. And so teachers, hey, grab this book. The information was already in the below. The information will be there for you. We will make sure that we get all that information out so you can get this book, so you can connect and have her read to your classroom. Like that is phenomenal. I love that you're doing that, where it's not just a book, but if they want to do the read aloud, you're right there to do the read aloud with them. So now they're connecting what they are reading to the author who actually wrote it.
Yeah. And I love talking with kids about the writing process too, because I want them to know that they don't have to wait until they grow up to become writers or authors. Kids are amazing because we listen to them now, like because they're 8 years old and they have this amazing grasp on humanity that all of us are just walking over. We stop and we listen to them because they're kids. And I want them to always know that their words are powerful. They don't have to wait till they're 40 years old like me and publish a book. They can do it now. So yeah.
Love it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we truly appreciate you joining us today. We thank our listeners or our viewers for watching. See, what had happened was, if you have a story you'd like to share, just like Melody, you can email us at contact@andredaughty.org. You'll see the handle at the bottom of the screen. It can be your story can be from an educational point, a student's point, or an administrator's point of view. We'd love to have you on our show.
And then also make sure you check and click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because there are going to be more stories like this coming out. We enjoy hearing educators speak, and we want to give them a platform to share their story, and so we can see what had happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So Melody, we really appreciate you. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. We hope that you stay safe. We hope that it gets a little warmer in Alaska, because 12 degrees, that's not happy weather right there for us. Yeah. We need that weather to go up at least 36, 37, 40, 55 degrees, somewhere around there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been so nice talking with you, and thanks for caring about my story and letting me share it. I really do appreciate it.
Well, that's the end of this story in this episode. Don't forget to join us on the next episode of See What Has Happened. Thanks a lot, everybody.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcast.